Believers, I'm glad you're watching this video. I'm glad you're watching my other videos on this channel also. I have over 4,000 videos just produced in a time span of 6.5 years. Thanks to the Holy Spirit that enables me. Just understand the following here, believer. You can't see everything coming, okay? So you can't blame yourself if something bad happens that you didn't see coming. You can't see everything coming. You're not God. You're not the Most High, okay? You have two eyes in your body, and you have a limited sight with those eyes. And yes, you have an inner radar, but the reach of your inner radar is limited. You are a creature. You're not the Most High. You're not God, okay? Just accept it. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there are things you can see coming if you look around a little bit. And why am I reminding you of this, believers? It is because often when I receive prayer requests, because when someone emails me with a prayer request or with a case, it remains confidential. But there's one pattern I've noticed about the emails I receive, about the cases I go through. Most of the time, when I look at the case carefully, when I put it in context, I come to the conclusion that this believer, if he or she would have looked at the bigger picture, if they would have put things in context, they would have seen things coming. Okay, let's say that you live in the Caribbean, okay? And in the Caribbean, you have a hurricane season. So let's say now you're on St. Thomas or in Puerto Rico, and you're one of the islands in the northeast of the Caribbean. And suddenly, the level of this water, of the sea, of the ocean water at the shores drop. So the beaches become longer because the water level drops. And you notice that there aren't many clouds in the sky. What do? You know that the sea level or the ocean level doesn't drop near the islands just for nothing. You know that the clouds don't just disappear for days. You know then, when you experience this, that there's a hurricane coming. So you don't wait until the rain begins to fall. The moment you notice that the sea level is dropping at the beaches, you notice that the beaches are becoming longer. You also notice that there aren't many clouds in the sky. It is because those clouds are sucked into the eye of the hurricane. So you know that within a few weeks, a hurricane is going to pass by. So what do? You begin to make preparations. Either you evacuate yourself and the people that are around there, or you build a shelter, or whatever you do to anticipate the hurricane that's about to come. The moment you notice the signs that the hurricane is coming, you do what you have to do. But what if the beaches become longer? What if you go to the beach with friends often, on Puerto Rico or on St. Thomas? But then you realize, this beach is quite long. Because you notice that the water of the ocean is lower. The moment you notice that, you should realize, okay, something's odd. But let's say others around you say, oh, come on, man. Maybe it's just the water's a bit lower, who cares? Then you say, but why aren't there many clouds in the sky? Dude, they tell you, there's more sunny weather, man, just come swimming. If you're around people like that, who just want to be left alone, they don't want to be alert, they don't want to be bothered with reality, you're dealing with such folks, you are in dangerous company. Because once the rain begins, they're going to say, oh, it's just rain, man. You know, this is Caribbean. From time to time, there's a lot of rain. And then there's hard wind, and they tell you, it's just a bit wind, but be happy there's wind. And it's only when they hear on the news that there's a hurricane coming, within 2 days they realize, oh dear, there's a hurricane coming. What are we going to do? And now they're stressing out, they're freaking out, thinking, oh, what do we have to do now? But if weeks ago, when you noticed the signs happening, if you would have examined it, if you would have sat down look at the bigger picture, look at the context, you would have realized, there's a tropical storm coming. I don't know exactly when, but it's coming, so let's anticipate. And that's what I mean, believers. Too often, believers are overwhelmed and captured by bad circumstances or by traumatic or tragic situations. Just like that, I'm not blaming the believer. I'm not saying it's their fault. It's not their fault because something that is done to them or it's something that happens, but they could have seen it coming. They could have been prepared. They could have been armed so that when the situation comes, the situation wouldn't be so harmful. When you walk by faith, when you anticipate and put things in context, I'm telling you the truth here. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if you do that, even if attacks or harms or whatever is coming your way, because you're armed in faith, you often don't even notice that it happened, because when it comes to you, because you walk by faith, you're already overcoming it. And after you've defeated it, then you're going to notice what's going on. You get what I'm saying here? So it's after you defeated it, you'll notice that something is wrong. Why? Because you've overcome it while it was on its way. And that's how believers ought to be. But too many believers, they don't notice anything because they're distracted. They're so loaded with the cares of society. Or they're so drained by accusation of that same society that they don't see obvious things coming. And sometimes unbelievers, those without Christ, those with almost no knowledge of the spiritual world at all, because you have people out there that know nothing about the spirit world, but they are alert. They have an alert attitude. Sometimes such unbelievers will notice things far earlier than the believer does. But pagan Christianity tells you, well, he is not a believer, so you should watch out for him, but Satan could use him. Use him or her, that's true. But not every unbeliever is used by Satan. Sometimes, I said sometimes, okay? Sometimes the Holy Spirit will use an alert unbeliever to hint something to you. So it can be that you have this boss. Let's say you at the office, he's an unbeliever. He calls himself a humanist or atheist or whatever he's following. But this boss notices that lately you come at work but you're a bit tired. And the boss tests you out, and the boss realizes that you do your work well, but the boss senses that when you respond to questions, you are a bit defensive. So now the boss notices immediately what's going on. The boss sees that you are being targeted. So the boss tells you to work fewer hours. So the boss, who's an unbeliever, who knows nothing about the Bible at all, who knows nothing about the spirit world, he believes that human beings are descended from monkeys, he believes in the Big Bang and all of that, but he's alert and he sees something you don't. He doesn't see exactly what's going on, but he notices things. And believers ought to be alert. It should be like this, that evildoers are frightened of doing evil because a believer is nearby. It should be like this, that you have this drug cartel over there, but the drug cartel suddenly withdraws all the drug operations from a neighborhood. Why? Because the drug cartel is afraid of the power that believers are walking in. It can be that you have two believers in a small town. Just two believers. Those believers don't even know each other. They don't even know each other's existence. But because those two believers walk in the power of Christ, the drug dealers over there, the human traffickers, the child molesters, all of them are terrified. Because every time they do the dirty thing, there is some painful, horrible consequence haunting them. Why? Because the power of the believers is working against them. The believers don't know them personally. The believers aren't coming after them directly, but the power they're working in is working against those evildoers. So eventually, the drug cartel and the criminal decide to leave because they don't know what's going on, but they can't remain functional in the darkness over there. That's how it ought to be. Or it should be that, let's say that you have this gang that wants to beat someone up, but then someone tells people from the gang, oh, I would better not, I won't do that, because the uncle or the cousin of that guy you want to beat up, man, he walks in big power. If he hears that something bad happens to one of his relatives and he goes into prayer, you're all finished. Or it can be that they want to go after this guy to beat him up into the hospital or whatever, but that on their way, their car crashes, or on their way, their mobile phones give the wrong direction, so the power of that believer is working because that believer is praying for that relative. That's how it ought to be. Such testimonies should be common every day. And I'm not complaining about believers here. I'm just pointing out believers ought to walk in the power. Okay? Do I see everything coming? No. But even when I don't see something coming, when it comes and it's evil, it doesn't have that destructive effect it should have had, because I walk in the power. The same you ought to do. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.